What's up everybody? Adam here. In this next video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 levers that you can use to scale your e-commerce business to $1 million in sales a year and beyond. I've talked to so many of you out there, so many business owners and entrepreneurs who are really struggling to take their business to the next level. They've got great products, they've got great branding, they started to build a team, but they're struggling to get their business to 100K in sales a month or even bigger than that. And so I thought I'd break down the things that you have, the weapons, the arsenals that you can use to scale your business and to take it to the next level. All right, let's get started. Scaling your e-commerce business from 6 figures to 7 or even 8 figures is really not about working harder. I know that you probably heard this before, work smart, not hard. And this is probably the golden rule of entrepreneurship, right? It's not necessarily about putting more hours in or working harder or hustling harder. The truth is, it's about working strategically and pulling the right levers. Well, what are the levers? I'll go through those with you now because really it boils down to 4 main things. If you feel like you're stuck at your current level, you might be focusing too much on the operations, on the day-to-day stuff. This is a very common problem, and it's often because you're kind of in that area where you don't have a lot of money and excess capital to invest in hiring and to grow your operational side of your business, and that's because you don't have enough sales. But how do you get that? You need more sales. And so the way you get more sales is you feel like maybe you work harder or try to do all the things within your business to grow it. And I'm just going to tell you right now, in my experience, I've built and sold multiple multi-million-dollar brands. I had one of the largest Amazon agencies in the world. I've helped so many entrepreneurs over the years to get past this very difficult time, especially early on in your business, that I've seen what works, and I can confidently tell you the main things that you can do in your business that will help you kind of reach that escape velocity, right? Get to that 100K month and do it consistently so that you get to a point where you're making enough profit to reinvest in your business and do the steps to scale it to the next level to 5 million, then 10 million and 20 million and beyond. From my experience building, scaling, and selling multiple 7-figure businesses, growing one of the largest Amazon agencies in the world, and working with many, many entrepreneurs who are trying to scale their businesses, I found that the 4 things that you can really do, the 4 critical levers that you can pull in your business to get your business to grow are as follows. First is obvious, more sales, right? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But we'll talk a little bit more about what that means because it's a little bit deeper than just more sales. The second thing is more capital. More money, right? Obviously, more money can help your business grow. You can reinvest it. You can do all kinds of things with more capital. We'll talk about what that means and different ways of getting access to it. The third is more people, building your team, hiring, scaling, outsourcing a lot of the stuff so you're not doing everything. And then the fourth is mentorship and community. And this is probably one of the most underrated but most important things. And I'll talk about what that means and why it's so important to have a mentor or a group of mentors and a community of other e-commerce business owners that are going through some of the same things as you or that have already been through it and are at the next level. They've broken through the next level and beyond because they're going to give you all the guidance you need to succeed. When you apply these levers effectively, you move from 6 figures to multi-millions much faster than you can imagine. And I think the big thing here is I want to break you out of that mindset, that stuck feeling. I've been there, trust me, don't get me wrong, I've been there, okay? But the point is that it's not about putting in the more hours. You have to change your frame of mind to being a leader, a CEO, someone running a business and being strategic. And that's why these 4 levers are really important because it's a couple of things really that make a huge impact. It's not doing 100 things well, it's doing these 4. And if you can nail these 4 things, you're going to be able to grow your business. The first lever is the obvious one, more sales, more money coming into the business, more velocity on your products, more revenue. And with more revenue, usually, not always, but most of the time comes with more profit. Now, this is super important because you need to figure out a way to grow your revenue strategically, okay? And that doesn't mean hustling around the clock. Again, this is going to be a common theme you're going to hear me talk about. It's about being smart with your time. It's about expanding intelligently, okay? Generally, there are 4 approaches to growing revenue under the more sales lever, and that boils down to a couple things, right? These 4 things right here. First is more channels. The second is more products. The third is better marketing, and the fourth is higher margins. And we want our sales to go up like this, not stagnate, and certainly not go down. So let's talk about these 4 things and what that means to you and your business. The first thing is more channels, right? So what that means is more places to sell your product, right? If you're only selling on your direct-to-consumer site on Shopify, you should consider branching out to Amazon. You can sell on Walmart. You can sell on TikTok Shop. Now, you have to master your primary channel first and then gradually add others. The key word here is gradually. You're not going to launch on every single channel all at once. This will spread you out too thin. And I want you to, again, think strategically about where is the most bang for my buck, right? I'm always talking about this ease versus impact thing. And it's super important that you find things that are easy, but also highly impactful. You want the ones up here. So think about those channels and what are the ones that you can launch easiest on and, have the biggest impact. And, one of the things too is that, like with Amazon, for example, you can sell on Amazon Canada, for example, Amazon Mexico, and that's really pretty easy to do with the Amazon programs that they have set up. You don't have to do a lot, right? You maybe need to translate your listings, and a lot of that can be done by Amazon. They already automate so much of that stuff. But you can use AI too if you don't want to use Amazon's tool for that. But basically, yeah, that's an easy way to expand your sales offering. And, so I want you to think a little bit about more channels. Now, what I always teach people, and the method that I teach in the Skills to Products program, is using TikTok Shop and Amazon and Shopify together, right? That doesn't mean launching on all of them at the same time, but generally I suggest launching on TikTok Shop and Amazon at the same time, because you get that spillover effect from TikTok Shop to your Amazon listings, and you just see the sales really go up. So I would say at minimum, if you're in the US, you should be selling on TikTok Shop and on Amazon. And if you want to add your direct-to-consumer site, your Shopify site in there too, you can do that. That helps you capture customer data and allows you to retarget and resell to your customers. But at the minimum, launching on TikTok Shop and Amazon and using the TikTok Shop affiliate program and the shoppable videos, which I cover in a whole separate video exactly how to do that. You do that by obviously getting on more sales channels, right? So that's what I mean by more channels. The other thing you can do is you can launch more products, right? So you might have a single product. Now, 99% of the time, a single product is not going to get you to 8 figures in revenue a year. It's not impossible, but most likely it's not going to happen. All the big e-commerce sellers, myself included, have always expanded on our product categories, right? We've added more products to add more revenue. Now, this does mean you have to invest in that, right? You need to buy more of the products to sell more, so you want to keep that in mind. But one thing you can do is consider bundling, upselling, or launching brand new SKUs to increase your average order value. The first 2 of these things, the bundling, that really doesn't require more investment, right? You can sell multi-packs, you can sell bulk versions of your product. If you let's say you sell something that comes in a one piece or whatever, you can do that pretty easily, where you bundle it. Instead of a 1 piece, it's a 3 piece, right? And so maybe you reduce the price a little bit, but you're capturing more sales and more revenue that way. You can also upsell, right? If you have other products already, you can get your customers through a funnel and try to upsell them. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but the idea here is just you're adding more SKUs, right? So you're trying to increase the amount of sales by putting more products in front of the customer. This is super important because you can actually get a lot of your product ideas from your customer feedback. And in fact, Amazon has some built-in mechanisms in the platform. For example, frequently bought together, use that stuff to give you ideas on what the next product should be, right? Your customers will tell you, people out there buying these products will tell you with data on what are the products you could offer them. And so I think this is a really great place to, get real insights into what stuff you can launch next. Use the comments, use the reviews, use social media, and that'll help you reveal some of these untapped product ideas. You could also use TikTok Shop and some testing methods that I've shown in my videos on how to see if a product makes sense, right? And you can do that without a huge investment if you do it smart, right? Order a small batch, get that into the hands of affiliates, run some campaigns, right? Or you even just create the content yourself on TikTok to see if you can generate some sales and figure out if, all right, this could be a good product. And then you buy more in bulk. You place a larger MOQ order. So that's an easy way to grow your revenue, is just to add more products to your product catalog. Now, the next thing is better marketing, right? I didn't say more marketing, I said better marketing. And ideally, it's more marketing and better marketing. So if you run tests, if you have data, if you've done paid advertising, you know your conversion rates, right? You know your acquisition costs. That can make or break the success of your business. If you have a low conversion rate, you need to do things to improve the conversion. And that can come from anywhere, right? It could be the offer itself, it could be the product images, it could be the description, it could be some of the keyword targeting. There's a lot of different things that can affect conversion rates, but that's super important. You want to try to improve your conversion rates, not only for just your business's sake as a whole, but certainly on any channels that involve ranking. So like if it's Amazon, right, you want to make sure that your conversion rates are high, because that's going to help your ranking, your listing get better ranking, and then Amazon sends you more organic traffic. So it's always about improving the conversion rates. It's probably the number one metric when it comes to marketing. Now, you can also do all kinds of different marketing campaigns, right? You can use TikTok. They have tons of different ad programs. They're constantly rolling out new stuff. And I would say definitely take advantage of those things, because TikTok's in the phase now where they're just testing a lot of things. So they're going to help you, right? They want you to succeed. They want it to work so that you spend more, right? So take advantage of that time now where you can really leverage that stuff. And definitely lean into the UGC, right? I think this is becoming ubiquitous at this point, that everybody knows that the UGC content, the affiliate content, is really what's driving a lot of sales. Same thing with the live shopping, TikTok live, social selling. This is the kind of trend for the next year and years moving forward, is going to be all about live shopping, all about affiliates, all about user-generated content. Now, you can do a lot of this stuff with AI, now. That's kind of the crazy thing too. I still say try to be authentic, get real people, because we're still at the early stages of it where it is, you can kind of tell when something's AI. Not always, but for the most part, you just don't want to turn people off. But yeah, definitely use UGC to reach your audiences, with less cost, and do it authentically. And obviously continue to double down on the things that are working, right? If you have, if you're running Amazon PPC ads and you have a good ACOS, increase the spend, right? Like if the return is good, if the return on ad spend is good, double down, right? Spend more money. I think that's an obvious one, because if you know you're going to get the return back, then it makes sense to make that investment. What I don't want you to do is throw money at a problem, right? So that isn't working. So if you have an ad or ad sets or whatever that isn't performing, spending more money there is just a waste of money. So I wouldn't do that. But things that are working, double down on them. Obviously, if you're able to build an email list or an SMS list, or even, like DMs in your social channels like Instagram and that kind of thing, that's a great, super low cost way of getting more sales, right? You want to encourage repeat purchases. This is the big thing. And this is what I always tell people and teach people in Skills to Products is we're trying to build a cult-like following, okay? We want people who keep buying from our brand over and over, that are loyal to our brand, that buy more of the products because they love our products so much. And this is where kind of building your customer database, building your email list, your SMS list, that's super important, because when you go to do some of the things like I mentioned before, like launching more products, for example, well, what's an easy way to launch more products? You do it with your email list, right? Or with your SMS list. So it's just a kind of a flywheel of stuff, and you want to kind of always be trying to capture that data. And you may not have it if you're early on in your brand building journey, but the point is that you should be aiming to get those things, because they're going to have a lot of value for you for the long term of your business, right? And again, even small upticks in conversion can have a huge impact on your overall revenue. That's why I stress conversion rate is so important. It's probably the single most important metric when it comes to your listing, right? You want to know, of course, what your margin is and have margin for it. But if you can increase the conversion rate, that drives so much more revenue for you and better profits. And so I think that's one of the most important metrics. Always be tracking that and always be trying to improve your conversion rate. And then, of course, another way is to get higher margins. Now, this may not directly impact revenue, okay, but it does impact the bottom line, right? Your net profit is really what matters at the end of the day when you're running a business, because your revenue doesn't affect how much money you can reinvest in your brand. Your profit does. So you should be trying to squeeze higher margins, right? Now, there's a lot of ways to do that, but the easiest ones are to pay less for your goods, right? So negotiate better deals with your suppliers or your shipping partners. You should also be trying to, increase the price point of your product. So you do that by, having premium branding or bundling to get higher prices. You can get higher margins by raising prices and lowering costs of the goods. And that's pretty much it. So those are your kind of things that you can work with there to increase the margins, but it's something that you should always be aiming to do. I just had a call last week with a business owner who was trying to scale and thinking a lot about margin, right? And trying to figure out best practices to increase margin. And what I have done in the past is I've had my supplier store the goods for me and then trickle it into the fulfillment center for me. And the reason being is because, for example, if you're manufacturing in China or somewhere else, the cost of storage, the cost of labor is generally lower. So part of the negotiation tactic is not always just price of the good. It can be things like, okay, I'll pay the same price, but I'll pay you later, or I'll pay you less up front, and then I'll pay you after the product sells, or I'll pay you the same amount, but you store my goods and then ship them for me every month so that I don't have to store them and pay the long-term storage fees on Amazon or whatever. So that's another way to help your margins. But those are the kind of main things that you can do to improve your margins. And again, every dollar or percentage margin increase allows you to reinvest more into growth. The more money you can reinvest, the faster you're going to scale. It's just the law of entrepreneurship. So you should always be thinking about, how can I put more money into my business, right? A lot of people kind of approach it from this angle of, how do I get money out? Now, I want you to change your frame of mind. You should be thinking about, how do I get more money into the business so that I can scale it bigger and grow it bigger and ultimately, take more money out or have a bigger exit. But the point is, you want to increase your margin wherever you can. Jeff Bezos said it famously, your margin is my opportunity, and I want you to have the same approach to business. You need to be ruthless about your margin and improving your margins and improving your conversion rates and some of these other metrics that I'm talking about. Now, lever number 2, more capital. This is very straightforward. More money that you can use to grow your business is going to accelerate the scale of your business, okay? You should always be trying to find ways to get more capital, and especially if you don't need it, right? It's always easier to get more money when you don't need it, ironically. That's just how it is. But that's why I always encourage people to pursue some of these angles and some of these lending opportunities and some of these, basically ways to get capital when they don't need it. Because when you're panicked, when you're in a cash crunch, when you're stressing, it's going to be a lot harder to get access to that capital. And especially if your business metrics aren't looking great, and you're in a down period or something like that, you're going to have less options, right? You're not going to have the same sort of revenue-based financing opportunities and other stuff like that. But more capital is always good. You don't have to use it, right? But just get access to it. And I want you to fuel growth without going broke. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you do get capital, I want you to spend it smartly, okay? As you scale your business, inevitably expenses are going to go up. There's bigger inventory orders, there's higher ad budgets, there's going to be more operational complexity. Access to capital prevents you from hitting a financial roadblock right when you're ready to accelerate. Again, this is why you have to have these things locked and loaded, because when you go to scale, you're going to have to spend money. And yes, it can be scary cutting that big payment to the supplier for an order that's 5 times bigger than your normal one because you're selling so much. I get that, but that's why it's important to have access to capital. And again, do it in a smart way, right? It's all about cash flow management, because even profitable business can run into problems if they don't maintain a healthy cash flow. I'm going to do a separate video on cash conversion cycles and cash flow because that's such an important subject. And it's one that I personally struggled with when I was running my business, right? When I got started, I had a lot of problems managing my cash flow because I didn't quite understand it. I didn't know how it worked exactly, but there's some kind of key ways to avoid crunches or to prevent them and to help your cash flow. Now, this is a very high level thing, so it's not super in depth, but just like so right, again, the first is going to be you can renegotiate your supplier terms. Some of the things I talked about just a minute ago here is all about, improving your cash conversion cycles. Like how quickly, do you get that money back that you spend? And you can manipulate that time a little bit by paying later, paying less in the beginning, that kind of stuff, or having your supplier kind of foot some of the operational costs, if you can call it that, like storage and stuff like that. You can ship differently, right? Like negotiate different costs with your freight forwarders and things like that. Those are all things that should be negotiated regularly. And I think like one of my biggest things I can kind of say to you is this, right? Like people always say, always be selling. That's like that sales thing. I say always be negotiating. I think that negotiating is something that you should always be doing. And as you run your business, you need to always be negotiating. ABN, all right? Always be negotiating. And you got to be ruthless about it. It's business. It's not personal, but if you're scared to negotiate, learn how to do it or hire somebody, because it's just going to make a huge difference. The other thing you can do is sell faster, right? That goes back to that marketing thing or different channels. You want to have a faster inventory turnover. That helps your cash. And you don't want to have money tied up in products that aren't selling. Like that's the biggest thing, I think. Don't have this inventory problem where you are asset heavy, right? Where you have a lot of inventory, but you don't have cash. This is just a horrible problem. And everybody goes through it for the most part, right? I think every successful e-commerce seller has had some problem with inventory in the past. It's hard to avoid it because it's one of the hardest things to manage, but you want to try to avoid it. Another option is leveraging 0% interest credit cards, right? So you can stack offers from different banks to get up to 200, 250K in capital at 0% interest. And many of them are 0% at 18 months. So that gives you a year and a half to use that money without paying any interest. And if you have a business that's up and running and you're trying to scale, that should be a great opportunity for you to turn that capital into more sales, to launch more products, to grow your business. And if done smartly, you'll have no problem paying back the line of credit from the credit card. And you have a long time to do it, right? The key here is that you want to be smart about your funding. And this is all about, leveraging capital that's not your own, right? It's about external financing. And really, it's just about helping you scale faster and not putting your own money at risk. Now, some of these have personal guarantees, some don't. But the point is that there are multiple things that you can do and multiple options for you as a business owner to take advantage of, some of this capital that's available to you. You have SBA loans, there's business grants. SBA loans are typically it requires a personal guarantee, so you are responsible for that money on your personal name. If you can't pay it back, it's going to affect your credit. Business grants are basically like free money. I mean, you can apply to many of them, and it enables you to get access to capital without having to pay that back. There's revenue-based financing opportunities, things like Amazon loans. Mercury offers it. There's just a ton of different, business banking opportunities, and they'll plug into your sales metrics and give you some capital based on the amount of money that you're doing, the amount of revenue that you're doing. Another great way is just using the supplier line of credit. This has worked great for me in the past. I still have access to up to $8 billion in credit from my supplier that I work with for many years. This is really good because it's helping you kind of grow your relationship. You want to buy from your suppliers anyways, and if you're going to scale up, you're going to need to buy more goods. So it kind of aligns incentives where you can get access to maybe a line of credit from them if they offer it. Oftentimes, sourcing agents, some of the larger ones, if you work with them consistently, they'll offer you lines of credit as well. I mentioned Amazon loans earlier. Another opportunity is with Shopify Capital. Both of those options are great if you have consistent sales history or you have sales on those platforms. It's another form of revenue-based financing. And then another option is to go to private investors. I would say this is probably the least favorable one. It's kind of like a hard money loan, or if you go to a family member or something like that, I would say exhaust these other options before you go that route. But yeah, oftentimes it means you do need to give up equity and stuff, which I don't always recommend. I prefer not to give any equity away, because equity is expensive in the long run. It may not feel like it in the moment, but it usually is more expensive. But yeah, so that's another option, right? And the main thing is that when you take on debt, okay, firstly, debt is not bad, all right? If used in the right way, debt is very, very good. And in fact, most wealthy people use a lot of debt. They use it as leverage to, grow their businesses, to buy the houses that they want, to reduce their taxable amounts of money. There's a lot of things that debt is really good for. Now, for businesses, debt can be really, really good because, you want to build a relationship with the bank or with, some of these lenders. And on top of that, you almost always need capital to scale your business. And that either comes from you personally, it comes from profit of the business, or it comes from, some of these funding options. Capital is something that every business needs, and especially e-commerce businesses. E-commerce is a capital-intensive business, and I'm going to repeat that again because it seems like people still don't know this for some reason. E-commerce is a capital-intensive business, and that means you need money to grow your business. You need money to buy more inventory. You need capital to scale. And so it's important that you have access to this stuff. And again, I go back to this thing of have it when you don't need it, right? Like build those relationships now, even if you don't need it. That way you have it in case you do. But the big thing here is you need to understand how to repay it and what interest means, because just like, investments compound, so does interest, right? So you got to be super careful about that. But if used wisely for proven product lines, for example, for high ROI marketing that's shown itself to generate a return, or for strategic expansions, this type of funding can really accelerate the growth of your business without stressing you out. And make sure you don't kill your cash with this. I know that sounds weird, like you can take capital and then it can hurt your cash. Well, yes, it can. If you don't invest it wisely and then you're hit with these high interest payments and you need to repay the debt, that can really stifle your cash flow. So, cash is king no matter what, whether it's money that you're taking on or you're growing the business or whatever it is. Be smart about that. Okay. Now we're going to talk about profitability, because profit is the most important thing. There's a saying that you may or may not have heard, but it's revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And what does that mean? Well, pretty straightforward. A focus on revenue alone can lead you in the wrong direction if you neglect profit. We are not a fast-growing software as a service company. If you've landed on this, you're running an e-commerce business, right? And so revenue is nice and it's important, but the profit is really what matters, right? If your margins aren't good, scaling is really, really hard to do. And it can actually amplify losses and make things worse for you than it can if you just kind of grew slowly or maintained, right? And so it's super important to understand that before pouring money into large inventory orders or big ad spends, you need to do these things first, right? So you need to make sure that you have good profit margins, that you are going to be growing profitably, and that you're not going to shrink your margins by scaling your business, because usually when you scale your business, margins go down. So if you don't have good margins as it is, they're going to get even worse as you grow, and then you're going to be in an even worse scenario. Even though the revenue might be higher, your operations could jam up, and then you have a lot of problems, right? And so you want to make sure you identify any of these inefficiencies early on, like shipping inefficiencies, fulfillment stuff. You want to really dial in your supplier relationships. All that stuff needs to be lined up in advance. And then as you're growing and building your business in general, you want to track all your margins, right? This is a super important KPI, is your profit margin, because at the end of the day, your take home is what matters. It's what your business is valued on. It's how you scale and how you grow. And it's the point of running a business. The point of running a business is not to lose money, right? The point of running a business is to make money. And revenue is not making money necessarily. It's just a number of sales, right? You want to profit at the end of the day. And again, this is different if you're like a software as a service company that's, they take a different type of approach to growth, where typically a lot of the cost is front loaded, and then, they have very high gross margins as the software scales and as you gain more customers, and then you earn that capital back or that investment back. We're in an e-commerce industry where the growth is typically very linear, right? It goes like this. As opposed to like this if you're a software company, right? Software companies kind of have this hockey stick growth thing that happens because the cost to produce the software generally stays the same, but the amount of sales go up and then the margin is very high. With physical product businesses, the growth looks more like this because you still need to buy the goods to sell them, and you can reduce the cost of the goods a little bit, but you still need to buy the goods. And so the margin generally kind of stays the same, and it's more of a straight line when it comes to when you measure like the growth and the profit of the company. And always remember, it's preferable to be sustainably profitable at a smaller scale than it is to operate at a loss trying to ramp up. That's the VC model. Now, if you're doing that on purpose, like that's okay. There are some companies that operate at a loss to grow their business. Goalie is a great example of that, right? They spent so much money to market their brand, to gain market share, to gain brand awareness, and it worked because they were able to then turn that revenue profitable, and they really understand their KPIs, and they knew how long it would take, and it was very, very organized. So that's very different than just like trying to grow a business without a plan. But by prioritizing profitability, each round of an investment, whether it's internal or external, it moves you closer to the goal and to long-term success in your business. Now, the third lever is all about people. People are the lifeblood of a business, and as you grow your business, you're going to find that the things that were really important in the beginning, like all the operational stuff, wearing many hats, running around, doing all of the stuff that you need to do to make the business run, it's replaced by other things. And one of the things that gets replaced by is hiring and team building and management. And some people love that, some people hate that. That's just how it is. And like some people love managing and hiring and all that stuff. But the truth is that that's usually what happens, right? As you grow a business, you as the owner, you need to get better at building teams, all right? That's what it's all about, because you're going to have to do more things, and the problems get more complex as you grow, and you also can't do everything on your own, right? It's not good for the strategy of the company. You as the CEO, as the founder, you need to be thinking about the scaling, think about product lines, how to grow the business. And the way you do that is by freeing yourself up from a lot of the day-to-day operational work, from the marketing things, from all of that stuff. Doesn't mean ignore it, but you need to hire smart and delegate and build a team around those things. If you're wearing every hat, what's going to happen is that you're going to slow down the growth. You're not going to be able to do everything, and you become the bottleneck. At higher revenue levels, you need to transition from being a doer to a leader, and you need to focus on strategy and not day-to-day tasks. And that's done by hiring smart, okay? Now, you don't need a massive team. The thing is that we live in an incredible age where we have AI. All right, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're just coming into this period where AI is revolutionizing our world, but you should definitely be taking advantage of it. And the thing about AI is when you combine it with smart people and the right people, and then you put AI in the mix, it's like everything gets supercharged, right? You don't need a huge team. You just need the right people in the key positions to make an impact. And there are some roles that I think are kind of like the first hires that tend to be really impactful. It depends on what kind of business you're building, but for me, I found that it's either going to be an operations manager or a GM, a general manager, early on that handles a lot of the logistics, maybe handles your calendar too, handles certain things like fulfillment, helps you free up from the day-to-day tasks so that you can think, strategically. And this person is usually like a generalist, right? They're not necessarily an expert in marketing or whatever, but they know how to kind of make the gears run. And I think that's an important role to fill early on. You also want to maybe think about someone who handles marketing. If your marketing is your strong suit, you can spend a lot of time in that space, right? Like marketing is something that drives the business. So, you can hire that out, or if you're good at it, that's fine. This is sometimes, an agency or an individual. I wouldn't say go with an agency early on. Agencies are hit or miss, right? They're not going to have the same level of commitment to your business as an employee would generally, but it depends on what you're trying to do and what kind of marketing. And then, of course, customer support. That stuff can be easily outsourced to a VA overseas, or even AI could handle this now. You want to still pay attention to what people say. You need to keep a pulse on customer satisfaction, on complaints, on problems, because that's going to directly impact product and drive product choices and product improvements. And you need to be able to spot problems. But this is also a great hire because it's typically a low cost thing and it's a volume thing, right? So that's one of those things that's like, It's very intensive and it has a big impact, but the cost to put somebody in that role is low. So I would definitely be, hiring somebody to do customer service and customer support early on. Delegating these areas frees you up to guide the business at a higher level. And that's what being a leader and being a CEO is all about, right? You want to delegate and automate. As you're building your business, you should be documenting everything that you do. You'll notice you end up doing a lot of the same things over and over and over again. And those things should be documented into a standard operating procedure, written down step by step, so that when it comes time to have somebody else do that job, they already have a full guide on how to do it. And the easiest way to do it is just do a screen record as you're doing it, right? Like you can use Loom or many other tools that are out there, and you can actually just record it now, and AI will do the transcript and break it into sections and everything. It's the easiest way to show somebody else how to do it, but you need to document everything. And then you can use AI to help with everything, right? Like learn these AI tools because they're force multipliers. So I would highly suggest documenting everything and using AI to your advantage to improve and streamline the processes and get it all down on paper. So when people come in, you don't have to manually show them. It's already recorded. Here's the SOP. Follow the SOP. If you have any questions, let me know. It makes it much easier for people when they join the company. And of course, a big part of this is also about building systems, right? You want to have strong systems and you want to have kind of the tools in place that help you do that. You can go overboard on this stuff. I think keep it as simple as possible. I personally really like just the combination of Slack and Notion. I find that those are perfect. Slack for communication, and then Notion for all your task management, SOPs, content, all of that stuff is there. And just use those tools, right? Keep track of what you're doing, keep things organized, and these kind of systems help you scale smoothly and avoid the bottlenecks that slow down the momentum, right? Like oftentimes it's those little things that in the moment maybe don't seem like that big of a deal, but they all add up and they compound, and they could either work for or against you. So you want these things working for you. Now, the fourth lever, which I think is probably the most underrated, but the most important, and that is mentorship and a community, okay? I've got the Karate Kid image here, and wax on, wax off, right? Like, I'm not saying a mentor is going to be Mr. Miyagi, but you want somebody to spar with. You need people who have done it, people who have encountered these problems, and you need guidance because going at it alone is painful. I know because that's the route that I took in the beginning of my entrepreneurial career, and I made a lot of costly mistakes, very costly. I mean, some of these mistakes almost put me out of business, right? But what I learned and how I changed was I realized I need help. I'm not too proud to seek help. I want a mentor. I want people who are at, I'm here. I want people who are up here that bridged that gap, who crossed the chasm, who learned the hard way too, or learned from others and can teach me. And not only that, you need a community of other people. You need a group of people who are in the same boat as you, because you need to share war stories. You need to share ideas. You need to sulk together, to celebrate together, cry together, win together. It's super, super important. Entrepreneurship and business building is hard. Anybody that tells you otherwise is either BSing you, trying to sell you something that's not really true, or they've never done it. Entrepreneurship is hard, okay? And it's lonely oftentimes. When you're running a company, you'll find that the people around you who maybe have normal jobs and work in an office or whatever it is, they just look at life a little bit differently. And it's not better or worse, but it's just how it is. When you become an entrepreneur, when you take charge of your destiny in that kind of a way, you become a little bit of a different person, and it can be a little bit lonely. And beyond sales, capital, and team building, the critical fourth lever is mentorship and community. Many entrepreneurs waste time and money, a lot of money and sanity, on trial and error when they really could just tap into the insights of people who have already done it, from successful people. Now, fortunately, we live in an era where, you have YouTube, you have all of these resources available to you now. The only thing is that it can be really overwhelming, and you have a harder time discerning between what's good advice and what's bad advice. And there's a lot of people out there who just create content, who just, sell stuff, courses, whatever, shortcuts that they claim, but they haven't actually done it. So I would just caution you, be aware of that. And that's also part of the reason why, I started doing what I do and why I started working with people, is because, people came to me and they're like, oh, I heard this, should I do drop shipping? Should I do this? Should I do that? I watch these videos and I'm lost. I'm overwhelmed. I get it. I understand that it can feel overwhelming. It's kind of a weird conundrum that there's so much information out there that it's hard to tell what's good and what's bad, but that is the kind of world that we live in right now, right? And it's hard to tell what's real and what isn't. And so that's why it's super important to tap into, a proven network, a proven system, find a real mentor who's done it before, and lean on them, because they're going to help you. Why this matters? Well, you're going to get strategies that work without reinventing the wheel. You're going to get access to a network of people who can share resources, tips, or even partnerships, right? Connections, all of that stuff. And it'll be pre-vetted because it's, people have already worked with them. They can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you're going to avoid these common pitfalls, which can put you out of business. Like I'm telling you, you got to be careful. I mean, things can be so costly that you can't recover from it. And it's happened to many people. It's not guaranteed that you're going to succeed in this, right? But you can avoid a lot of these pitfalls by learning from mentors who have been there before, okay? And that's super, super important. I have had great mentors over the years. I've made it a point after my initial failings to learn from people who have done it before. I've spent so much money on education, on self-development, on leadership, on mentorship. And I can just truly tell you from my own experiences that it's completely changed my trajectory in business. It's made me way more successful. It's given me the confidence that I needed to take bold steps. And I think it's a must. You have to pursue people who will help you. And you have to pay for it sometimes, right? Like, that's just the truth. People who are successful are in demand and they're busy. And, that's okay, right? It also kind of gives you the incentive to really work hard at it, because if you're paying for something and you're investing in yourself, you're going to be way more committed. I just know that, and I've seen it time and time again. So, like I said, I pay a lot of money for my own personal development. I still do upwards of 5 figures plus a month, every month, to learn more and be better. And it's just a part of the game. I've also built a huge network and work with people and have a community to bounce ideas off of. I do meetups, all that stuff, because, it's essential to growth and success in business. Now, that leads me to skills to products, okay? And I'm super excited to share all of my experience with the world. And the response that I've gotten from people has just been amazing. I've been very fortunate in my career. I've built and sold multiple businesses. I've had the life-changing exit multiple times. And it's something that I want everybody to experience, and it's something that actually has been solved, right? It's a system. If you follow certain steps, you will be successful and you will be able to grow a business that you can sell at some point. It's not an art, all right? It's a science. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of art to it, but it's mostly a science. And so that's why I put together the skills to product system, because I love working with people who are building businesses at all levels, right? I have people who've come through the program who've never sold a product before, who just want to do e-commerce. They don't even know where to start, and I help them go from 0 to 1, and now they've got great businesses doing revenue, and now they have the next problem, which is how to scale the business. I also work with founders who have a business already and that are at a certain level and they want to go to the next level, whether they're at 6 figures annual revenue and they want to go to 7. I even have worked with people who are 7-figure sellers who need to get to 8 figures, and people who are even at a higher level. I've worked with larger organizations and CEOs as an advisor to help them when they're at a level of like, okay, my company's valued at 800 million, and I want to IPO in a couple of years. Like, what are the steps? And so I've seen the whole gamut of businesses, and it's very, very fun for me to help people. But I think the most exciting thing is helping people build the dream that they've wanted, to find the financial freedom, to make more money than they could ever envision in a job that they had before, and just really to kind of like give them the mindset of success and entrepreneurial vision. It's not something that's easy to quantify, but when you understand it, when you develop and cultivate that mindset, it changes your life entirely, okay? It really does. It's life-changing, and I'm just so happy to see people change their lives with this skills to product system that I built. I'll give you a quick overview of what it is, right? So I provide expert guidance. It's led by an entrepreneur who's built and sold 4 multi-million-dollar brands. That's me. I also scaled a 340-person agency. I've raised 8 figures in venture capital money for a software as a service company. I've advised all kinds of people, from solopreneurs all the way up to companies, as I mentioned, trying to go public and at a high level. I spent 12 plus years honing this system, and I'm giving it to you now. I want to show you and empower you to create the life of your dreams. And it's a proven framework, right? It's clear, step by step, and it's a playbook for creating in-demand products, for understanding virality, for growing your revenue, for branding, for sourcing. Basically the A to Z of building a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business. Not only one that is profitable, but one that's in demand, that investors are going to fight to buy, right? That's the key. I want you to have that exit, because that's really when the windfall of money happens. You can make money building the business, but the big money is when you go to sell your company. And I want to teach you how to do that and set you up for success. The other thing is that we are at an amazing period in time. I've said this on all my videos, and I'll just shout it from the rooftops forever, is that we are in a golden era for e-commerce, all right? I've been doing this for a while now, and I've never seen the kind of growth and scale that you can get so quickly and really so cheaply. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but the opportunity is huge. If you leverage TikTok Shop along with Amazon and Shopify, and then couple that with AI, you can easily build a multi-million-dollar brand fast and profitably, okay? It's something I've never seen before, and quite frankly, it's not going to be around forever, right? This is an opportunity that I think is once in a lifetime. It reminds me very much of Amazon in the early days when I got started. For the people that jumped in early and started, to take advantage of that opportunity then, everybody that I know that started along with me built an amazing business. Almost all of them sold their businesses and then did it multiple times and are rich now. Like, really, that's just the truth. That's my observation. Myself included, right? I did the same thing. It changed my life, and I'm seeing it again now with TikTok Shop. The fact that you can leverage the TikTok Shop affiliate program, when you have a product that goes viral on TikTok Shop and you understand the framework and how to make videos go viral and how to leverage the affiliates, and then you get this massive spillover of sales on Amazon, and your sales just go crazy and it's all profitable. It's like, it literally is the infinite money glitch. I've never seen anything like it. And I think if you are wanting to build a brand, now is the greatest time to do it. It's never been easier, and you need to get on it, right? And that's why I built this system. I also offer in this real-time support, so you're going to get direct access to me. People are always surprised when they book a call with me. They're like, oh, I thought you were going to talk to somebody else. And I'm like, it's me. I'm on the call. You're going to talk to me because I want to know where your heart's at. I want to know where your head's at. I want to know if you're serious. This is not for everybody, okay? Not everybody's cut out for this. If you want to enter the arena for the chance to make life-changing money and you've got the right mentality, the time is now, right? But I want to talk to you first. So not only that, during the program itself, you get direct mentorship from me. I have a system of accountability, so you never need to guess your next move. All of it is laid out for you. There's the entire blueprint there, as well as different marketing strategies and advanced stuff, right? So I bring people in who are the experts in direct-to-consumer. I bring people in who have taken brands to retail. I bring people in who are experts in launching on Amazon. I bring people in who are experts at UGC and run large UGC software as a service companies. You're getting access to my Rolodex and to my network, and they're going to teach you how to market in this day and age and take advantage of this great opportunity that's in front of us right now. And then finally, you get a great community of other people building businesses. Again, people at all different levels, and it's amazing to see how they support each other. You want to surround yourself with ambitious people aiming for financial freedom and sustainable success. This is what we want. We want financial freedom. It's the best feeling in the world. It really is. And I want you to experience that. So if you are interested in joining Skills to Products for a proven path to results, a proven blueprint to build and scale and exit out of a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business, I want you to reach out to me, okay? Go to the link in the description and book some time with me. We'll take a strategy call together. I'll ask you about your business. I want to know where you are, how your level of experience is within e-commerce and what your vision is. If all of this sounds good, I would love for you to reach out to me via the link in the description of this video. I'm taking applications for people who want to join the Skills to Products program. If you book some time with me, you can have a free strategy call where we talk directly. You'll meet with me and we'll go through your ideas, your vision. I want to learn about you, who you are, and where you are in your business and how I can help you. So book time with me, and I look forward to hearing from you.